Ladies and gentlemen, today's video is going to be one of the most important videos to highlight some of the most significant topics that everyone in the crypto market needs to be paying attention to, but most won't. The XRP community has suffered for a long time, but we've been hitting the nail on the head. You see, typically I come on here and say I have this aggressively average content for you today. But today is one of those videos where this content is not aggressively average. It is absolutely important. Brad Garlinghouse had an interview with Bloomberg calling out Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler then responded to Brad Garlinghouse calling him out. Then Hester Pierce is going behind Gary's back and talking shit. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's one thing that's so significant, is that unlike any other time in crypto history, things are rolling on the regulatory front. I've always stated regulatory compliant cryptos are going to make the most generational wealth you will ever see in your lives. And that's exactly what I believe. Now we're finally beginning to get clarity and people are scared. No. This is not one of those channels that have shied away from regulations. I have always told everyone 99% of cryptos will die, but the ones that stay will send shockwaves across the universe. Anders Lumberg stated, Gary Gensler is so transparent with exactly what he wants to do. Wall Street wants to be the chosen custodians for the crypto space, and they're going to use FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried's fraud as the reason for why exchanges can't necessarily be their own custodians, or for why exchanges are going to have to partner with larger institutions. The good news is that it also reveals Gary knows crypto has a bright future in the US. Wall Street only cares about large sums of money. And Gary Gensler stated crypto exchanges should not be considered safe custodians. This is because Wall Street is positioning their chips correctly to make the most money possible from this industry. And to all of you retail investors that watch my channel every single day, your role in Wall Street's game is to be exit liquidity. The thing is, you are in as Wall Street is positioning their chips as well. You have already won. You just need to stay the course, be patient, pay attention, and DCA at lower values. You will be a winner in this challenging crypto market, and all you have to do is stay the course. Now, so that I could give you overall context of the high-level conversations that are ramping up as a Ripple decision by the judge is about to take place. Brad Garlinghouse and Gary Gensler are beefing. Hester Pierce is firing shots. And it's because we're about to reach a regulatory climax of a moment with whatever happens in this Ripple case. These interviews happening now are no accident. And all of you better be on the edge of your seat for whatever happens next. Now, please listen to Brad Garlinghouse, then followed by Gary Gensler, his response video to Brad. And look at how frustrating it is having to listen to this Mr. Burns looking ass as he looks incompetent as he's sending innovation overseas.
SEC bringing the case against Ripple was not really just a case about Ripple or about XRP. It's really about the industry and how the SEC is kind of playing offense and attacking the whole industry. 2.5 years ago when this started, I'm not sure everyone fully digested that, and now that is widely understood. This is going to be pivotal for the whole industry because if the SEC is able to prevail, I think there's a lot of other cases, and some of them just in the last 4 weeks, I think they brought 5 additional enforcement cases. The macro headline for me is this is not a healthy way to regulate an industry. Your regulation through enforcement, as opposed to where we're seeing in other countries where they're doing the work, right? They're codifying, they're creating a framework that allows an industry to grow while protecting consumers. And I think that's really what the U.S. is lagging. And to some degree why I'm here in Washington is to continue to try to evangelize and educate here's how these technologies can really benefit consumers, benefit industry.
Is what I'm hearing from you essentially, if the U.S. doesn't get its act together and move more quickly, all of this is going offshore. It's just going elsewhere.
Well, it already is. I mean, the sad reality is that the U.S. really is already behind. This is not behind countries that we haven't necessarily heard of. This is behind Australia and behind the UK, Japan, Singapore, Switzerland. There's a lot of countries that have taken the time and thoughtfulness to create that clear rules of the road. By contrast, when I first got involved in the tech industry in the late 90s, some were saying the internet should be banned. They were saying, here's how the internet is being used for illicit purposes. But the U.S. government said, no, we're going to create a framework. And that allowed entrepreneurs, that allowed investors to come in and look at the benefits to the United States on a geopolitical basis to have the Amazons and Googles based in headquartered in the United States. We're at, I think, severe risk of having that not happen in this next evolution of technology around blockchain and crypto. It has already started moving outside the United States. And also the consumers are suffering because of that, because you don't have the same protections that the U.S. regulatory frameworks can provide.
What would a good framework look like in your view?
Well, look, I think what you're seeing right now is the Securities and Exchange Commission. If you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And not everything here is a nail. And I think any framework has to start with clear protections for consumers, but then to thoughtfully understand that these aren't always going to be securities. Some of them are used as currencies. That is, having an efficient process to trade, exchange, move those things would be much harder in a world if they were regulated as securities.
On the securities question, the SEC has pursued similar cases to the one concerning Ripple around unregistered securities. How do you see your case in particular as differentiated from those, some of which the SEC has won?
Well, the ones that the SEC has won have, in my judgment, really been very clearly ICOs, initial coin offerings, where a company issued a token and raised capital to build a business. That isn't what happened with Ripple. Ripple uses XRP to solve a cross-border payments problem. To send money overseas today, it tends to be slow, expensive, and frankly very error-prone. We're using these technologies to make that real-time. Why is it that I can send an email to anywhere in the world? You don't have a cross-border email. We think the future will be you're not going to have cross-border transactions in the same way. So I think this case is unique. I think it is going to be very important to setting the stage for how crypto is regulated in the United States. I'm very optimistic, quite frankly. I think the law is on our side. I think the facts are on our side. And ultimately, I think history is going to be on our side, because these are not technologies where you put the genie back in the bottle.
And just quickly, why not just avoid the battle or put it to an end and register XRP as a security?
If the SEC had done the work to create a framework to do that, there's no framework to register a digital asset. There's nowhere for it to trade. You can't trade it. If it's a digital asset that's a security, you can't trade it on Coinbase. You can't trade it on Kraken. You can't trade it on the NASDAQ. So it's a little bit of putting the cart before the horse. If the SEC had done the work to say, here is how this is going to exist in the United States, that's great. But I think that the SEC really has gone beyond what the law says. And it was really trying to expand for power and for politics, they're putting that ahead of sound policy.
All right, we have to leave it on that note, but Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple CEO, thank you so much.
What one particular builder in the ecosystem, the Ripple founder, had to say a little bit earlier, if you could just take a listen.
The SEC is kind of playing offense and attacking the whole industry. This is not a healthy way to regulate an industry. Your regulation through enforcement, as opposed to where we're seeing in other countries where they're doing the work, right? They're codifying, they're creating a framework that allows an industry to grow while protecting consumers. And I think that's really what the U.S. is lagging.
Now, Chair Gensler, I'm pretty sure you might say, well, look, a founder in that sort of business might be saying this, but what about some of these players? We've spoken to many who've perhaps been part of previous administrations who are now, advisors to some of these companies and worried a little bit about the holistic nature of really trying to regulate and worried that it is more about enforcement rather than the rules of the road at the moment.
Caroline, there's nothing incompatible crypto and our securities laws. Our securities laws were brought about to protect the investing public against fraud and schemes and manipulation. And it was through this idea of full, fair, and truthful disclosure, registering with the SEC when you're raising money from the public and the public's anticipating a profit. It's pretty straightforward, actually common sense approach to helping the public in investing. So this broad field, we have one goal at the SEC is for them to come into compliance, whether it's the tokens, that's basically people raising money
Yes.
or offering these tokens. And it's also what I'll call the storefronts, but they can call themselves crypto exchanges or lending or staking as a service or other intermediaries to come into compliance and ensure that they don't mislead the public, but also that they don't commingle the funds, they don't take the public's funds and do things we just don't allow in our financial markets. We don't allow the New York Stock Exchange to also play with the customer's funds and make markets, run a hedge fund, run a dealer, be in the clearing business. We separate out those conflicts.
Mr. Gensler, thank you for your time. You've set out the goal there. And what I want to ask you about is the results of your actions. You have asked a number of names in the crypto industry to register their products with the SEC. Very few have, in particular, those that are most known to us, the bigger names in the industry. Why are they not acting on your requests?
Well, the law is the law, and they need to come in and properly follow the laws, and we will work with them to do that.
Now, guys, I know that was very clip intensive, but it's so all of you can hear the professionals at work. Brad Carlinghouse seemed confident, poised, and as articulate as ever. As clearly, the entire crypto industry and even many regulators and Congress members know, Gary has not been clear. In response, Gary gives his cliche, nonchalant, bullshit response, his dodgy response, his I don't give a damn about accountability response because I have unlimited US taxpayer dollar funds. Ladies and gentlemen, Stu Alderati, Ripple's general counsel, stated, as advice for other crypto firms get out of the United States. This is a direct response and a direct call out to Gary Gensler. Gary is single-handedly driving innovation into the arms of Asia, Europe, the Middle East, Africa, South America, and the United States, is missing out on the fourth industrial revolution. This is a damn shame, and you better believe, in my opinion, Gary's gonna be on his way out. His conflicts of interest with the Sam Bankman-Fried situation are blatant, and he is no benefit to the US government and US innovation at all. It's getting to the point where crypto exchanges like Kraken and even Coinbase are beginning to wake the hell up. We've been warning the industry for years they're coming after all of us. And now finally the industry is responding. Maybe a little too late, but at the very least they've gotten their shit together. And my favorite part about all of this is that Hester Pierce, Gary Gensler's very own peer, is consistently stating there's a better way to go about this. We're going to reach a critical climax of a moment very soon. And all I'm here to tell you in this video is chess pieces are about to be moving at an accelerated rate. In my opinion, crypto regulations are going to crack down hard. But before that, I do think we have a speculative bull run left in us. Nobody's paying attention to crypto right now. Things are looking a little scary, isn't it? That's when it's the moment of most opportunity. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Pre-regulation crypto environments are the best for us retail investors to get rich because when the on and off ramps are fully secured, when the custodians are here, when the crypto market is easy, that's when there's no more money to be made. We're on the front lines of the fourth industrial revolution. And Hester Pierce is doing nothing more than letting us know that we better not let it go around us. Please listen to this clip from Thinking Crypto as I cap off this video for today, letting all of you know that you should all be extremely excited for what the next couple weeks have in store for us. March is the month where the judge is going to make a major decision in this case, and we're about to get more clarity as far as where we stand. Stay ready and pay attention, and God bless every single one of you.
It's just so frustrating, and people wanted me to ask you, how do we make you the chair of the SEC?
This is not about personalities. This is about an institutional problem that we really need to solve. And so there's a very clear path forward, right? It's too bad we didn't start the path forward a couple of years ago, but we could still do it. So what do? We, the SEC, could put out a discussion document to say, take each of these areas separately, right? What are we going to do on token offerings? What are we going to do on staking? What are we going to do on crypto lending, NFTs, whatever you want to look at? Say, here are some parameters that we're thinking when we look at this. We're seeing these things are sort of signals that something might be a securities offering and therefore would require registration. And here's what we're thinking in terms of what a registration regime would look like, what kind of information we're trying to get out. Okay, so you put that out, then you invite people in to have a public roundtable. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but I think it's important to have these conversations out in the open rather than having them be conversations between us, the regulator, and one entity. You want to make sure that not only the entities offering these products and services or tokens, but also people who would be buying those products and services or tokens have that conversation. Perhaps we could do that jointly with the CFTC. I think that'd be even better. And then from that, we can either develop a rule or an exemptive order, which would then allow people to come in and register, because some of those fundamental issues would then be resolved. You wouldn't have to resolve them every time someone comes in. Then our disclosure staff could do what it always does, which is work to make sure that the unique aspects of each offering or each product, that those unique aspects are coming through in the disclosures. And that's what we could do. And even if Congress ended up deciding they wanted to legislate, they could draw on all that work we did and use that in writing their legislation. That's what we need to be doing. That doesn't require, we could start doing that tomorrow if we wanted to. So let's just work on, from my perspective, that's what I want the agency to be working on. Let's just work on doing something productive.
Why hold XRP? Because Ripple's the chosen one to lead the new global digital payment system, and they use XRP. In 2013, the Federal Reserve began looking for faster payments options. 2 years later, an action plan was born and a federal payments task force was created. It included one company focused on crypto, Ripple. In 2014, the World Bank and Better Than Cash Alliance, which includes the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, and the governments of 32 countries, put out a report called The Opportunities of Digitizing Payments. 1 year later, the Better Than Cash Alliance featured one crypto company on their website, Ripple. Today, Better Than Cash Alliance and all other UN initiatives are focused on a single agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. You can see the SDGs logo on Bill Gates' lapel, world-leading companies, the Better Than Cash Alliance website, and on the UN's official exchange, Exchange. What crypto is Exchange officially utilizing for their carbon credit solution? XRP. The world will move to a new international standard for exchanging electronic messages between financial institutions by 2025 called ISO 20022. Who was the first ISO 20022 member focused on distributed ledger technology? Ripple. Who's partnered with over 300 financial institutions, including Bank of America, American Express, PNC, Santander, SBI, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Bank of England, India, Singapore, Scotland, Australia, and Indonesia, the largest banks in Japan, Canada, Egypt, the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Morocco, Bhutan, South Korea, Brazil, and Latin America? Ripple. Who is a former employee overseeing the Federal Reserve? Ripple. A former employee overseeing the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock's digital asset division? Foundation, Ripple, leading Australia's CBDC effort, Ripple, who hired a former Treasury of the United States, Ripple, 2 former Federal Reserve attorneys to their board, Ripple, 2 former Clinton and Obama advisors, former Minister of Defense and Economics of Germany, former business director at Swift, former Swift board member, former CFO of PayPal, former head of the DTCC, former chief business officer at Uber, former VP of Amazon, and former SEC chair on their legal team, Ripple, who's a member of the Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Dollar Project, Digital Euro Association, Mojaloop, IMF's high-level advisory board on fintech, Hyperledger Blockchain Consortium, Open Payments Coalition, Faster Payments Council, Global Payments Steering Group, Cross-Border Working Group, International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications, Crypto Climate Accord, University Blockchain Initiative, Worldwide Web Consortium, and a featured partner of the World Economic Forum with 3 members of their team directly listed on the WF website, Ripple. Now, does Ripple and XRP sound like they're going to disappear, or do they sound like they're part of a much bigger plan? You decide.